Hi there. Joshua Boyle, Senior Community Manager at Bethesda Softworks. In the role, it's a lot of, man, it's kind of, I almost think about it sometimes like I think about like QA, where people think they just like play games or something, and it's just a million other things like social media, dev feedback, Meat Shield, all that stuff. I think it's probably like, yeah, it's a lot.
Hey, Mike Rubits, senior programmer at id Software. Been at id for 14 years this September. Yeah, I'm just kind of generally responsible for all the old games, or what we formerly refer to as the back catalog. Yeah, it's just I love being able to just tear into all these things from our past and find like development archives and just original material just trying to bring these games back and keep them faithful to how you remember, but still trying to like make them work for a modern audience.
Honestly, like two that come to mind that are the quickest ones. Number one, Hugo and I did a lot of streams during the pandemic, and I think I've heard more people come out. Like, we just met somebody a minute ago in the lobby from Australia. This is his first QuakeCon. This is his first time in America. It's like his first everything. And he was just, I think we all kind of needed something, like something different, something more like connection stuff. And Hugo and I just ended up starting it as like kind of on a whim. Like, we wanted to play through some stuff, but it ended up being something that we had a lot of fun with. And it was just like one of the coolest things that so many people seem to always be like, when are they happening, more of these? And he was even saying he puts them like on in the background when he's just like doing his thing, like environmental design. So I'll just stick with that as my one.
Yeah. So basically, this kind of goes back to around 2019. I was just transitioning off of Quake Champions onto the Doom ports at the time, and Nightdive were working on Doom 64. That was mostly wrapped up, so I wasn't really involved much in that. I kind of played some of the final builds in the past month, and that was actually my first time playing through Doom 64.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember renting it as a child, but that game was very dark originally. The story supposedly is they made it in a dark office and never kind of tested it in a bright living room. So I kind of bounced off of back then, and then playing through this now, I'm like, oh, this is just a new Doom episode that no one has kind of ever really kind of passed over the first time. So Doom 64 came out, Doom 1 and 2 came out at QuakeCon 2019, and we started updating Doom 1 and 2 and kind of building some momentum and just getting some positive changes. And that led to the Quake 1 port that started working Nightdive. And, on its side, it was just Kevin Cloud and myself, and we were just kind of like the team. Because I'm a programmer, I'm not really a producer or anything. I just started kind of programming with the project and hopping on the Discord and just sort of became like an unofficial team member almost, helping with like triage meetings. And it's really, I think this kind of arrangement is kind of why these games turn out so well. Like, typically in this kind of client, like creative firm thing, you don't have the client like working directly on the thing. And I think being able to actually be in there and, I did the whole UI for Quake 1, Quake 2, and the new Doom 1 and 2. And just being able to get in there kind of stops that. You have that problem often where, like, if you're working with an external agency, you'll have these milestones set up, and you'll get a milestone and it'll be like, wait, what is this? This is like not even close to what we wanted. There's all these issues, but if I'm in there working on it every day, any issues like that just don't happen. So just being able to be directly involved just like helps us make the thing much better, and helps us also trying to get what we're trying to get as the client. Also, as the client, it lets me yell at them to work harder. So
yeah, I mean, so Mike, myself, Adam, Laffy, a lot of people on the production side, getting all the release notes, taking everything that is programmer language of bugs and QA language of bugs and making them like human comprehensible, and even trying to make them like exciting and fun to try. I always try to make sure that we get everything like super tight and cohesive and exciting as much as we can. And there's just so much going on in this build in particular to make that happen. And then of course we did Doom Eternal mods, PC preview, and id Studio, which is like the biggest thing we've probably done at id in a million years for the community. So that was like, man, that was a whole nother thing. We did it all at the same time. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, Marty kind of talked about it on stage yesterday, but there's just so many teams to make something when we say it's available now. And, of course, we seem to always do this with Nightdive in the best way, where we release things on as many platforms as humanly possible all at once. So that means that like there's a million buttons that need to be pressed. There's a million checks that need to be made. And then it's, again, for people that don't mess with international stuff, like we have a ton of international teams that are amazing, do great community stuff, and we have to provide them everything localized. So that's a million teams localizing a million assets, all the social, everything else. So the summary is it's fun, but it's a lot. And I'm happy it all came out good, I think. I think it came out good. So yeah. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, another interesting thing with that is because we had multiple projects that were mods in Doom. It was a lot of just trying to keep everything straight. It's like, oh, is this for Doom Eternal mods or is this for Doom 1 and 2 mods? So it's like on top of getting together all that stuff, we had to keep these kind of two projects with the kind of same name apart. And it's a lot of fun trying to get all that. Now, we've had the source code out for Doom for 30 years. So, and actually about 25. So, there's no danger in Doom going away anytime soon. But what we can kind of do differently that the source ports have trouble doing is, release it on the consoles, kind of getting it to a wider audience. And I feel we kind of focus on some of the polished stuff, whereas the source ports tend to just kind of keep the game original. So I think both approaches are ultimately like useful to have. But we try and just kind of look at what can we do that like the community is not able to do as easily, because even with you're never going to catch up to what the community has been doing for 25 years, and the hundreds of programmers. A lot of these people know the Doom engine better than the original developers did back then. At this point, so it's finding that balance of what can we do to keep the game alive in the broader market sense, and then also relying on what can we get from the community to help also enhance that and bring attention to that community. We try to with the Doom and Quake, we try to kind of like get modders and mappers into the community and kind of funnel them towards those community resources, and try and just bring the attention. Like, these people have been making new stuff for so long, and a lot of it is so cool, and a lot of people don't know about it except for the rare thing that kind of busts through to the mainstream. So yeah, that's kind of what I feel.
It's a great answer, Mike. Yeah, I feel like I mean, personally, I'd always loved games growing up, but Doom and Doom 2 in particular, like getting into map making, like I literally like traded best friends for the rest of my life, because the best friend that I made was one that could make maps. And so we started doing lands every single weekend, got the group doing that. We did that for like years. And then, continued to play every single id game as it came out, which, Kevin and the team were putting them out almost faster than we could grow up. It was like insane when I think about how many games we played in the short period of time between like middle school and high school. We played like from 2D to like insane 3D stuff in that time. But I mean, Mike touched on it, I think, perfectly, in the sense that like there are so many amazing community makers that have made stuff for so many years, and it's, again, the community has kept all this stuff alive through amazing ports, ZDoom, GZDoom, everybody else, and all the other, multiplayer only things. So we didn't try to come in, I don't think, like reinvent the wheel at all. It was more just like making it more accessible. Again, the single player self-published mods that we have now in, that you can play on all the platforms you can upload on PC is kind of like hopefully major. So it's just so much easier to get access to all this amazing work the community's done. And then I also we didn't try to reinvent the wheel for like, here's the new map editor, this is the one. It's like, no, the community has been ushering and taking care of this stuff for 30 years. So like, we point to all the resources that already exist, which the community, if you don't know, then you can get jumped in just through like experiencing some new mods. And then hopefully, you get started with either just enjoying them, which is in and of itself like a huge W for all of us. So we see like the community like actually have more eyes on all this amazing work they've done, because Doom World CACO Awards, they've been going around for a long time, kind of praising the best work, and there's so much of it that it's always hard to. I mean, honorable mention of a CACO award is like god tier still. So I think it's cool that we get to do that. And then yeah, just really like hopefully like everything else. I know we have like there's Minecraft and Roblox, and kids can like build so many things now so easily in so many programs, which is awesome because it was definitely like I remember back in the day when Kevin and the boys were doing it, and even me and my boys were doing it, it was literally like CAD architecture software level stuff, and like one line def or one vertice or a sector could just like ruin everything. So we had like a million backups. Those were all on floppies. None of them work anymore. So it's just cool that it's like a preservation thing. It's easier to get into, and hopefully like it just inspires more people to make more stuff just through playing all the cool work that's been done.
Yeah, so Legacy Rust, that kind of really starts with the Machine Games episode in Quake 1. I'd like to think there was some like master plan to do all this all along. When we were in the process of doing the Quake 1 source port, we just started hearing through the grapevine, like, oh, Machine Games has like a Quake club, and they're working on something for Quake, and they didn't know we were doing a port either. And when you're working in like a company like ZeniMax, it's a very large organization. There's a lot of companies, and you don't necessarily know what's going on, especially Sweden. It's the time zone and language barriers. So just kind of by chance, we ended up finding each other and realizing we were both doing something that we could both benefit off of. And so once that went in, and it was the kind of shock of like, oh, there's a new Quake episode after 25 years on Quake. Boy, it's a lot of big numbers. It's just like it was just like, yeah, we have to do this, moving on as much as we can. The nice thing about this older tech is that it's so easier to make a map. You can load up Doom Builder and have a map in about 30 minutes with just some basic gameplay in a couple rooms. That doesn't happen in AAA game dev anymore. You're lucky if you get like 2 weeks and you can get a combat going, and you need 15 artists and 2 designers for it. So Legacy Rust is kind of just like that original id spirit of we have a bunch of designers. They're going to kind of make their own maps. We got some shared resources and to kind of string it all together. And it really kind of feels like this mixture of like Thomas Carter and Kevin Dunlop of Machine Games, now id. Like, they don't know Doom levels. They don't know. Play a lot of Doom community levels, you kind of start to notice that the community's kind of figured out these things. And when you have people who haven't done Doom maps, you kind of get this outsider perspective that's really interesting, and the way that they decided to build things and bounce things. You saw this a lot with No Rest for the Living, which Nerve Software did for the Xbox 360 port, where they kind of did some community stuff, but they're also not. It also felt different, and of course, Sigil also just has this way different feeling. So with Legacy of Rust, we've kind of combined those two different types of maps, but like they still fit well together. It's not like you're playing 2 different games, and you can still feel the individual mappers' style in those maps. And I think that's something that kind of gets lost in larger teams nowadays, is that individual touch.
Andrew Holschult, what a guy. I think he's even going to be maybe on this particular, he's going to be sitting in one of these hot seats soon, maybe. I think, is that the plan? Okay, maybe. He's an elusive guy. He's not. He's like the easiest guy to find. He's the nicest guy alive. He did IDKFA a long time ago. He said what the year was, how many years ago? Yeah, 2013, or maybe it was 2016 that it finally like went on his YouTube or something, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So from 2016, that was kind of like his entry into the foray of, his love for obviously metal music and obviously Bobby Prince's stuff, which just stands alone as like some of the most iconic MIDI music of all time. But of course, the Andrew treatment of everything heavy, everything hard and amazing. And then I think it was about a year and a half ago, Marty contacted Andrew to say, hey, we're doing this Doom plus Doom 2 release. Would you be interested in doing the Doom 2 section, which he had never done? Because obviously his work speaks for himself. I mean, we worked with him on Quake Champions, which was awesome, and on Doom Eternal DLC 1 and 2, which was Ancient Gods Part 1 and Part 2. So, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. And then all the New Blood stuff. And then he's got the new one going on right now. It's Katana Zero. That's not it. Is that it? The name. Oh man, the name. He's gonna kill me if I forget the name. I forgot the name probably, or I just said it right, and we're still good friends. But either way, he blew it out of the water. Like, he completely did from scratch all of Doom 2, and he kind of like, we talked about this, him and I, a couple days ago. Like, it was really cool, the process, because he purposely, because he had so much stuff going on with Iron Lung and everything else, he gave himself like a very limited kit of like synths and guitars and stuff he wanted to work with. And I always feel like that just, when you have the kitchen sink when you're doing music, if you've ever done like any albums before, it's the worst case scenario because you can just always spin off new stuff and then nothing sounds coherent. But he absolutely like he's just gotten so fast and so damn good. And the Doom 2 soundtrack in particular is like chef's kiss, but he also went back to make it sound, all the same levels and everything else. He went back and touched up like a little bit of a remaster of the original one too. So now Doom and Doom 2 are selectable soundtracks. You can go from Bobby's to the MIDI or the remix to Andrew's.
Yeah. So the Doom, the core gameplay loop of Doom is just really interesting because you get that. You get the chain gun, and you think the chain gun is like this. I'm gonna hold down fire and just kill everyone in the room. But like, also, it's like a really good sniper weapon. So you tap the fire button, you get that perfect spread on that. So like, the chain gun kind of becomes this long range thing, and then you kind of have this bounce of when doing Doom 2 levels of like, do you want to do the double barrel shotgun and take the double ammo hit, or do you actually just even switch back to the original shotgun? Because like, you don't need a double barrel shot to kill an imp. You're wasting a lot of ammo that way. So it does feel good, but it doesn't feel good when you're running around with the fists and you have an archvile in front of you. So a lot of it just tends to be just trying to conserve ammo because you're going to need it later, but also try not to do the thing where you're playing an RPG and you're at the end of the game and you have 80 maximum potions because you never want to touch them because you might need them. So you have to not be afraid to still use the BFG and use the plasma and use the rockets and obviously the new weapons in Legacy Rust are kind of similar. We're very good situational, and you want to use them to make your life better, but you also don't want to just waste them the first second you can get them.
I mean, the super shotgun, double barrel, whatever variety from Doom 2 to 2016 to Eternal to Doom 3, which I will defend Kevin and the single barrel shotgun in Doom 3 until the end of days. But I mean, to me, it's always shotguns for everything. Like Rubits just said, I mean, especially in the new stuff for Legacy of Rust, it is definitely like it tries to definitely teach you to not just double barrel everything because you will just run out of ammo and it becomes survival horror, which is why we were just talking about on map 1, there's a chainsaw and it's like, remember that there's a chainsaw because when you run out of everything else, you will need that. But I mean, I think one of the coolest things with Legacy of Rust was the flamethrower is awesome because the way that it works is after you shoot it, it has a certain range, and then it actually just catches fire in that space. So it's weirdly, other than the rocket launcher, I think from original Doom, or actually maybe you could do it with the plasma too. It's the only thing you can do self-damage in, but it's way easier to do self-damage because let's say there's a cacodemon, like this beautiful specimen here, like right in your face, and you just start flamethrowering it. How would you feel about that? You want to do the voice for it?
He doesn't seem happy about the thought.
But see, what would make the person doing it even way less happy is it'll just cause like a flame effect, like in this all up in your space, and it'll just kill you, like not instantly, but the tick rate is like, it's like you're standing in really bad lava. So, but it's cool. It's a totally different thing. And honestly, Kevin and I and Rubits were just talking about it on stream yesterday for like, it just reminds you of all this stuff from like the early 90s, they released in 93 of like just all the seminal movies, like action movies, sci-fi movies, aliens, especially with the flamethrower, like the nods, the vibes, it's just like flawless. So, I think Kevin and you guys, and you talked about that a lot of Legacy of Rust brought back a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut for original, like the release of Doom 93 or Doom 2. So it's kind of awesome that it's this like Zaibatsu, like, Gundam Voltron of like 3 different studios, individuals from them making this thing together and then using, enemies, sprites, and weapons that were like cut from the original content. It just makes it feel like such a cool love letter, which again, shout outs to everybody at Nightdive, because I feel like, and I'm going to include you in both id and Nightdive in this because I feel like we just keep making like I mean, we didn't even talk about the id vault, which is what all the stuff we're talking about, all the cut content, early sprites, all that stuff, that's all in there. And they've done that for now the Quake re-release, Quake 2, and Doom plus Doom 2. Oh, that's right. It wasn't in Quake, the original one, right? It's all the same to me now, but you're right. But even with that, with Machine Games, expansion stuff that they did, it's like, it feels like the perfect mix of like something brand new that a lot of people have never played, maybe they've never seen because it was cut stuff, and then somehow like just it's like both old and new fingerprints on something at the same time. And when you love Doom and Doom 2 and Quake 2 like we do, it's like there is no cooler release. There is like no better time to play. Like, because you can just, it's not that thing where you're like, okay, you have to go to this site and you have to download this thing. You just tell your friend, like, what do you have? Do you have a Switch? Do you have, Xbox Series S? Like, just go download it. You can play the same exact thing we're talking about. It's like super easy. So that's been rad. But double barrel super shotgun, that's the answer.